Hey guys, this is Kelly and I'm back with another process video. This layout uses the April hip kit, and there's my sweet kitty Juliet, and she pops off in just a second. Here she goes. So I had just finished watching a couple of Missy Whidden's videos, and I was so inspired that I decided I wanted to do this layout, and I wanted to get a little messy with it. So this is a very heavily inspired video or page after watching Missy's process. So I am using the April hip kit and that green paper from Webster's and that yellow heart. Oh, they are so pretty, and I love them. And that, especially that green, I could just use that, use several more sheets of it. So what I'm doing is I have trimmed these pictures. They're about 3 by 4, and when I printed them out, they didn't have quite enough white border, so I am matting them on white. And this is a funny little story. My husband has been complaining about voles in the yard for years, you know, tearing up his grass and all that, and you know, I listened and I heard it. It went through one ear and out the other. And then all of a sudden, I started having plants disappear. And I love any kind of gardening. I have hurt my back, so I don't get to do a lot. But, you know, my husband will plant for me. And there's just something therapeutic for me to watch things grow. And so needless to say, these 2 pictures are of things that literally were just planted, and the whole plant was gone. Like, the first time was the picture that you can see with the yellow tag hanging, or, you know, that's sticking out of the ground. And, you know, we have some deer in the area, and we thought, well, good grief, usually the deer don't eat the whole plant, and it was a Coreopsis, and that's usually not a plant that I've ever had trouble with, so I wasn't really sure. And then literally the next day, in another section, another one of my Coreopsis was gone, but this time you could see a few of the leaves that were left from down the hole. And so I told my husband it was war, and I didn't, you know, I like life, and you know, we have a bird sanctuary in the back that we try to do with, you know, bird feed and a bath and planting some different things that they like. But if you were going to ruin my flowers, you can just either leave my yard or die. So we have some little poison peanuts now that we're putting down the holes of these vicious little critters. So I decided that not everything in my scrapbook needed to be about my kids or what we were doing, but, you know, this is one of my loves as well as gardening, so I thought this would be a funny story to include. So what I'm doing is just taking pieces of paper and matting them and then tearing the bottoms. This is a big thing with Missy as well. And I also put a layer of vellum that I crinkled on the inside just to give it some more texture. And again, that is something that she does quite frequently. So I decided that I wanted this to, you know, completely not be a typical me layout. And usually I would have the pictures together, maybe one big photo mat behind the 2. So I decided to do 2 separate photos and treat them as, you know, have the 2 clusters of embellishments with them, and then have my title fall somewhere in the middle. So another thing that Missy does quite often is use mixed media. So I took a 12 by 12 watercolor page, and I knew that I wanted to do quite a bit of watercolor. And so I went for the watercolor page for more strength. It warps my regular cardstock. So that was why I chose this. And I'm just putting a thin layer of gesso on top of it. And a credit card or a gift card makes the perfect little spatula just to get a nice thin layer of gesso. These watercolors, I think, are called Koi, Koi, and I found those at AC Moore, and I had like a 55% off coupon, and I was very intrigued by these watercolors, so I decided, you know, for the price, I think they were turned out to be like $12, that, you know, I would give them a try, and they are a dream to work with. And I, you know, of course, I wish you had more colors, but it just, I don't know how to describe it, but it was just very nice to work with them. So what I was doing is putting water on the page, just little bits of water, and then putting some color on, and then letting it run. It was fun just to play, and then layering the color on top of each other. It gave a very pretty green, but I wanted different tones of green to show through, and then just by turning the paper, you get more of the marbling effect and the drip splatters, and, you know, just all things that are fun, or at least for me. So I decided to really get messy and just kind of splat on some of the splatters and let them go around the page. And so in order for the colors not to bleed, I did dry in between, and I took out that drying time because it literally was 5 minutes of my video just with drying. So you do have to be patient if you want to layer on colors and make sure that they're dry in between, because otherwise, you know, the colors will blend together. So I've added just a little bit of yellow, and the third color that I'm going to add is that little bit of blue. I wanted the main color to be that pretty bright green, and that inspiration was from that Webster's page. It was just so pretty. And for those that haven't really done watercolor, I just wanted to point out, you see, I'm not having to change my water. You see that the water is green. That doesn't really matter, especially if you get a lot of the water out of the brush. And I mean, you see that, you know, is blue, and that I put yellow, which you would have thought that if it had mattered what color the water is, it would have changed that color as well. So it doesn't have to be as time intensive as I think that when I first started I thought it would have to be. So I did let that all the watercolor dry, and I pulled out some texture paste and used a Dina Wakley stencil and just put a little bit of interest onto the background. And again, Missy actually does more on layering the background than I did, but, you know, for me this was, you know, just perfect, so I decided to stop there. And here, to make this my own, I'm pulling out my doilies and trying to figure out which color that I liked, and I decided to go with the turquoise under both edges. Those are from Doodlebug, and I was in a group and on Facebook where I was able to get, you know, like maybe 10 of each color. And with my love affair of doilies, I had to you know, purchase that, because I don't want necessarily a whole package of 50, but, you know, to have 10 of a certain color is just, you know, perfect for me. So I didn't trim the one on the upper left because so much of it was showing, but I was able to trim off a little bit more off that bottom one. And I went ahead and put my title on wax paper with a mixture of fonts. And two came in the kit. The white with silver is Amy Tangerine, and that is the Alex font. And I'm not sure which the black, I wanted to say it was a Dear Lizzie, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I will have the supplies listed on my blog if you are interested in finding out exactly which font that is. And the turquoise glitter is from my stash, and that was a Recollections alpha that I found, and I just thought that added another touch of something that is glittery, blingy, and I just love the color and how it helped pull in the doilies. And I did go ahead and trim the paper down a little bit and mount it on a piece of cardstock, and it did give it so much more stability than with the watercolor paper than with the cardstock. There really is a fairly big difference, and I never appreciate it until I actually use the watercolor paper. So I'm just taking my quick dry adhesive and putting that down underneath those thickers. I never have any luck with thicker sticking unless they're foam. And I've pulled the layout out. This has been probably a month ago that I've made this layout, and I'm just now getting around to editing the video. And those letters are stuck on that real good. I know that sometimes with mixed media, I feel like it's not quite as tacked down as I want it to be, and I've used hot glue as well, but this has worked beautifully. And now this is the part where you see that I'm going to start working with the clusters, and these arrows that I'm using never make it onto the page. I decided to pull some Freckled Fawn arrows that I had, and paperclip arrows and that I had in my stash that I hadn't used, and that way I was able to do one from the right and one from the left. And the other things that I pulled were Studio Calico cork cameras, and you'll see those at the end. And let me see, I also used a few of these turquoise little bling from Freckled Fawn. I had bought one of their kits when they went on a huge sale, and just stuck all my Freckled Fawn items in one of their little pouches, and just I'm trying to use up certain things as I can. So this stamp, it would have been so much easier if I'd stamped before, but you know, it's one of those afterthoughts for me. So I just took my fine line and inked up the diamonds, and then just stamped off a couple of times just for a little bit more interest. And I really like that as well. And that was an Ellie Studio stamp set from that kit as well. And again, I'm just playing around with these clusters. I do end up with clusters on the top corner. It does stay on that left hand side, and the bottom I end up shifting the cluster over to the right. And you can see I pulled out some other Freckled Fawn embellishments, just trying to see what I could get used. You know, the colors worked, but I didn't have the same color or the same, you know, if I put it on one, I really wanted to be able to put it on the upper cluster as well, just for continuity, and the phrases of that did not work, so that I could not use it, or for me, I just wasn't going to do it. So I took out, this is a Project Life stamp, and it says make things happen. So I thought that was appropriate because I'm making their death happen. And those little puffy stickers are from Freckled Fawn. So it will abruptly end, but I do have some stills, and I try to slow down the stills so that you can see what I've done in the clusters. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks so much, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.